right, we're back. That was Robin Hitchcock, Madonna of the Wasps. And we started off at the top of the show talking about gender issues. And Tony, it's not funny.
We don't have any here.
Some people we see, ladies and gentlemen, as much as I love my producer Tony Jones, some people just have no sensitivity for these important matters. They just don't. They're more concerned with...
This is a kinder, gentler radio station.
It's more like it. And also, everything we say is for entertainment purposes only. Lest we become less kind and gentle in the next, 5 seconds.
That can happen.
Especially with me. But, like it was during the music, I was pointing out to Seth that my stand on most of these issues, whether it's bullying, a political party, gender issues, political positions, sexual positions, whatever it might be, is when the frenzy, when the mainstream media frenzy and the American society's frenzy over one of these issues becomes too absurd for me to take seriously, then I therefore stop taking it seriously. And you get conversations on this show like werewolf gender. Because think about it. That's the final absurd point that you can take all this debate. And the great thing is, and I say that dripping with sarcasm, the great thing about the United States is, and other countries too, for those of you listening overseas, other countries too, is that we always, and we've done this since the founding of the nation, we take these things to extremes. It's not enough just to say, you know what, okay, gay people, that's cool. We shouldn't execute them for their sexual preference. That's gay, nothing wrong with that. Big, no problem. And stop. Right there, just stop. Or, let's see, black people. Well, now white policemen probably really shouldn't go around shooting black people in the back. Stop.
Right.
The end. Okay, now let's do something else. Yeah. Right. There's too much, right, Seth? There's too much vested interest in these causes. There's too much profit motive. There's too much power motive in having a cause that you can run into the ground until sane people just look at you like you're insane because you are.
Sort of like that Occupy Wall Street and all that type of thing.
Oh, that. All I wanted, I'll tell you, that Occupy thing. Now, granted, I understand. I mean, I'm old enough that back in 2008, I lost a lot of money when that stock market crashed. I got a family member that lost his house. It was a serious matter that activism and extreme points of view made ridiculous. That's a good case in point.
That's what I'm saying.
It was made ridiculous. And by the time we reached the point of having a bunch of idiots either camping out in the park in downtown Providence or...
treading on the homeless territory?
Yeah, they kicked out all the homeless people so that they could set up their tents and occupy downtown Providence. Yeah. And then they occupied Wall Street as if a bunch of moronic idiots. And I'm trying to think. See, the thing is, though, I stop myself because not all these people are stupid. They're not. But they just get wrapped up in a fantasy world where they're important. And they really think that if they sit out on the steps of one of the buildings in downtown New York on Wall Street, that people like Jamie Dimon, the executive of Goldman Sachs, maybe Warren Buffett, they really think that if they sit out there smelling, because most of these people stink, literally, I mean, it's nasty. You don't want to get near one of these protests. The only thing that didn't stink on Wall Street during the occupation was that golden bull.
And I believe we speak from experience, or at least I speak from experience, from interviewing said occupiers. And when they came into our tiny studio at the time, they literally stunk the place up.
That was rank.
That was brutal.
That's sort of like they were homeless.
They were what?
We're homeless.
No, they were impersonating.
Impersonate. There's a difference.
Impersonating.
You got to make that clear. There's
Yes. No, they were impersonating.
They weren't turning into a homeless person.
No.
They were.
No, activists are very interesting creatures. They impersonate. They impersonate the concerned. They impersonate genuinely concerned people, whatever the cause might be. They impersonate the homeless. They impersonate citizens going through a genuine hard time. See, that's why I hate them. And I think it wasn't until we started talking about this right now that I really crystallized why. Like, why do I hate these people? And it's because they sit around and impersonate people in trouble. And they take advantage of people with trouble. And with such a sense of self-importance that they really think that, you know, if they're female, by not shaving their legs and sitting out on the steps in Wall Street, that they're going to bring about, I don't know, what? What do they really think they're going to bring about when stock trades are done electronically and the people involved are all home in their mansions? And
I think they end up losing their fight because if you look at last year or the beginning of this year, where they all lined up on the highway to stop traffic.
Oh, I thought that was the Black Lives Matter thing, wasn't it?
I think I don't remember what cause it was because there's so many now.
It doesn't matter because I think all the same people participate in all of them.
Right.
Right, they're hired help.
But instead, what they do is they cause people to get pissed off. All honesty, and say, "Now I'm late for work. I got to find another way to work." They don't even care about the cause anymore. They put lives in jeopardy.
And that's another thing, especially in this Black Lives Matter thing. I mean, it seems to me there's three kinds of people when you're talking about racism. One is no kidding around. Whether it's white, black, we have racists, and they don't want to talk. They don't want any part of whoever it is they're against. The end. You have other people who consciously realize, hey, this is a problem. I might have some racist thoughts in my head. I don't like it. I'd like to be without them, and they try to be better people. They try to overcome it. In the middle, the third group is the people that really don't care either way. Whatever. As long as you're not being, in other words, they treat other, if they're black, white, they treat other races with politeness. They, just like other everyday people. But if they're pushed, then they take a side.
Well,
and
where would you throw Al Sharpton in that?
Al Sharpton wants a race war.
Right. So
Al Sharpton
doesn't fit in the top three.
Well, no, he is. Well, I think he's a genuine racist. I mean, you don't.
But he likes to capitalize on it.
Yeah, kind of like those evangelical preachers, that put on the big show in the tent and collect the money. They believe. I mean, at some level, they believe what they preach. In other words, you can't be that sincere about your bullshit line without believing it at some level, even while you're just preaching.
Or you lie so much you believe it's the truth.
You can do that too. That works. That worked for the Nazis. It worked for the Stalinists.
Yeah.
You say something often enough, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Somebody like Al Sharpton, I think, is a genuine racist, and he's canny enough that he knows how to capitalize on his own point of view. Kind of like in the Middle East. The reason there's not going to be any peace in the Middle East forever is because there's no profit in peace to the leaders of Hamas. There's no profit in peace to the leaders of Israel. There's no profit in peace for the leaders of the Palestinians.
Well, they haven't gotten it right in 8,000 years.
Well, they can't. In other words, my point is, just like with this, the race thing here in the United States going on now, if cool, calm heads actually prevailed and everything settled down and was peaceful, the leaders of the Black Lives Matter would be out of business. They wouldn't be important anymore.
Right.
The liberals for or against something. In other words, the leadership of every group that has a stake in these causes wouldn't be important anymore. They'd lose their prestige. They'd lose their power. They'd lose their opportunity to make money. And that's why you won't have peace here in the race issue, and you won't have peace in the Middle East, because the minute there's peace, the minute everyone just looks at the leaders of the terrorist groups and the leaders of Israel and the leaders of the Palestinians and says, look, we're sick of all this crap. Just cut it out. and get the hell out of here. The minute that happens, then, the Netanyahus, he's dead now, but that leader, what was it?
Khomeini.
Arafat. Remember, I remember back in the Clinton administration days, Bill Clinton did a few things wrong, but one of the things he almost accomplished, and he would have accomplished except for what I'm talking about, is that they almost broke it, a peace treaty between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Yeah, they gave Yasser Arafat 80% of what he wanted. And Yasser Arafat turned his back and said no and went back to terrorism.
Right.
He had to, because if peace was made, he wouldn't matter.
They don't have a cause.
There's no cause, and the leaders of the cause no longer matter. Let's get back to the music again. All right, now you know what, Tony and Seth, when we come back from this song, we are going to the music.
Okay, I'm for it. I'm for it.
I'm determined. Okay, but before we do that, let's lead into a music conversation with a little bit of Dreamside Dominions, Dimmu Borgir, a little black metal here on the Haunted Cabaret on Rhode Island Free Radio.